Call to order the City Council work session, Tuesday, October 11th. And I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Just so everybody knows, there will be a council special meeting after we close the work session. Any public comment?
We've got to vote on the agenda.
Oh, that's right. Everybody, you call the vote.
No, just, isn't it? It's just all.
Yeah. All in favor of the approval of the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, agenda's been approved. Now, public comment. From the Jan.
I'm Jan Norman, PO Box 778, Cannon Beach 97110. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, I would like to apologize to Tim Ramey and make a correction to one of the concerns I raised at the City Council meeting last week during the public comment period. Regarding my concern that I had heard Mr. Ramey had sent postcards to second homeowners asking them to consider changing their voting registration to Cannon Beach. That's incorrect. It was via email, not postcards, that this idea was communicated. The postcards were used for another purpose. My intention was and is to be truthful. As I said at last week's meeting, I have nothing personal against them. It is my hope that we all can find a way to work together in these challenging times.
Thanks, Jan. Anybody else from the audience? Don't see any hands. Is there anybody online? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I raised it as soon as you turned your head, I was like. Yeah, Hammond, PO Box 942. I would like to, I know on the agenda this evening, there's going to be some conversation about the recycling center. And I understand there was conversation, I think it was for the good at the good of the order last Tuesday. And I don't need my phone. And Bruce had said that it was not legal to be there. And I saw a post that was somewhere with a picture outside of the recycle center saying that they needed approval from the city. So I think that there's, and I'm sure you guys will get into this tonight, but I just wanted to express my concern there, is had that signage stated that this is the reasoning and this is why, and with the ordinance number, there's like, I don't know, 115 comments or something on this page about how horrible the city is being. And I understand the legality. I understand the legality of not being able to let someone in there and go through. That's a big risk for the city to take. But I think the signage just could have been presented a little differently. And I think that it probably would not have caused quite as much of an upheaval. So anyway, I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there, and thank you guys all so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just comment on what Dan said, she's correct. And I'll talk a little bit more about that tonight.
Right.
So you're correct.
Anybody online will raise their hand? All right. The public comment is closed. The first discussion item is the Cannon Beach Chamber of Commerce quarterly report. And Bruce, do you want to introduce it or go straight to?
I'll do a quick introduction. Jim Pano, the executive director of the chamber. We'll be doing a presentation on Zoom tonight. This is one of the 4 presentations that the chamber is required to do through the contract. And I think it's 3 by Jim, and there'll be 1 more when you meet with the entire board. And so Jim is all teed up and ready to go. And
Okay, Jim, your show.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me
Yes,
and see me? It's the first time I've had to do this remote. Oh, here we go. This is the first time I've had to do this reporting remotely. As you know, I like to be there and in person whenever there's a topic related to us or tourism or business. But I already had this conference scheduled, and I was supposed to initially report last month, but wasn't on the agenda, so we moved it to this month. And I want to thank you guys for putting me first, because then I can get back to actually dinner at this point is what I'm missing out on. But I'll get to eat eventually. No worries there. I sent you guys a lot of information in a packet, and I wrote a good letter to go along with that. So I'm just going to kind of recap that for you in this meeting. Certainly, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to fire away.
Jim, do you want me to share the presentation, or are you going to try to do it from your end?
Would you share it? Because I don't have that here with me on this computer.
Sure.
And it's the same presentation I gave you guys for the meeting previously. So for those of you that attended the last presentation that I gave, a lot of these slides will be very similar, because during the 4th quarter, which is the summer months, we really don't do a whole lot of promotion. We do a lot of planning. And of course, we take care of the visitors at the visitor center. And I'm going to go through some of those stats for you. But of course, the mission of the chamber is here for you, our list of board of directors, which I know that I believe there's a few in the audience. So if you have questions of them, you can certainly ask them too. The marketing committee list is right here, and I want to be sure and thank Robin for joining us on the marketing committee. I'm very happy to have somebody from the city part of this process, and so we can get that city perspective as we move forward. And then, of course, the staff is listed here too. Next slide. This is the recap history of the program that I provided last time, just so it's in the report, so you guys all know exactly how that's came to be and why this program is what it is. I know that you guys are aware of this, but I think it'll be more important when we get to the future city councils that we continue to share this history and how this came about and why we do what we do. Next slide. So what is the DMO work? We really broke this down into 6 categories, which was our partnerships that we work with other entities and chambers. And I'm actually at the Oregon Coast Visitors Association's summit of the entire coast. So this is another partner that we work with, although we really just are participate in their annual guide, but we work with them like we do with all our DMO partners up and down the coast to help each other promote and be better at what we do. But this is a list of the partnerships of the different subcategories of that. So we have our coast partnerships, ACVA, Travel Oregon, the North Coast Partnership. There's a lot of different entities, the North Coast Tourism Management Network. We do a lot of work with many different organizations to stay on top of everything to do with tourism and what we can do to help better inform our visitors and better promote our communities and learn from each other and just be better at what we do. The digital component, the website, the SEO, the dashboards, the visit app, which is all new, that these are assets and things that we need to have in place so that we have a place for our visitors to go and get the information that they need. This is a large part of what we do, is keeping the website up to date. And And that's a big part of what we do as far as marketing, to make sure that our information about our community is readily available for anybody who wants to read it. The next category is earned media, which has fam tours with travel writers. I just went to the Travel on Words conference last week to meet new writers that may be interested to come to town and write articles about Cannon Beach. And we do our best to track those articles and anything written about Cannon Beach so that we can make sure that they're factual and they represent Cannon Beach to the best that we hope that they do. This is always a tricky area because we don't really have any control over who's writing those articles or when they come to town, but we hope to meet them and kind of guide them to see all the best things about Cannon Beach. The next thing on that list is paid media. These are actual advertisements that we do. We have traditionally done 4 magazine ads with Travel Oregon, the Oregon Coast Visitors Association, Travel Portland, and then the Mile by Mile Guide. These are probably the 4 publications besides our own magazine that go out the visitor center door most often. So we know that visitors are picking these up wherever they go, and we certainly want Cannon Beach to be represented there. Another part of that is targeted advertising, which we haven't done really much of at all during COVID. And we're looking to get back into that arena as we move forward this year in our marketing efforts. Social media has, we maintained social media throughout COVID. Initially, we came out with messaging about staying safe and following the right rules during social media, but we also wanted to keep giving anyone who wanted to see pieces of Cannon Beach a little bit of that love we have. So great pictures of Haystack Rock, great sunsets, all the wonderful things. We wanted people to at least be able to go see them on social media. Sponsorships are something that we're looking to get into more, and we're trying to develop how that's going to work moving forward. We want to really be able to help the events in our community and different opportunities to get our information out and really make sure that people realize that these are things that are happening in Cannon Beach. So it's important for us to be partners with all the different events around town and make sure that we're helping them be successful as well. Then to make all of these things work, we have marketing services. There's a lot of things that go into making sure the marketing program works. We need to develop the content. A lot of times that's hiring writers to write some articles for our website, graphic design to help create brochures and different things that we need to help promote our community. And then another part of this is gathering, and it's all the different areas that we can get visitor data from, so that we can actually know who's coming to town and who we should be reaching out to try and market with to get that visitor that we really want to come to town. There's a whole lot that goes into that aspect that is very detail oriented, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. But those are kind of the things we do. And then there's the other category, which kind of covers the things that don't fall into the marketing aspects. But, you know, magazine and brochure distribution, we send out a lot of information from the visitor center. Being members of Travel Oregon and ACFA and other organizations to keep us in touch with them. Any training that we might need to do for staff to be better at their jobs, we to be better at that marketing, we want to include in that. And then we, you know, kind of have a little bit of a contingency in there. This is usually not a very big number, but if something comes up that's a great opportunity, a good example of this in the past was the Portland Theater would have like Phantom of the Opera come to town, and it was an opportunity for us to get into that program to promote Cannon Beach to the arts goers to the theater. We've done that in the past. We haven't really used that a whole lot during COVID, but I think it's something we will probably start dipping into a little bit when those remnant opportunities happen as we go forward. So that's kind of the breadth of the work that we do in the DMO program. As far as the marketing efforts go, this doesn't include, of course, the visitor center function itself. That's a whole second side of the DMO work that we do. Next slide. One of the things that we did, and as we're this last year during COVID, is created Dmo Data Dashboards. It's still in the work. We've got a lot of the data in there. We're working really hard to keep that up to date as we go. But this link here will kind of show you how those things work and the functions that they're into them. We are contractually obligated to report a lot of different information to you and to Bruce. And of course, we use that to report to our marketing committee and to the chamber board. And we really want to make that information available to you. And the best thing about having the dashboards is those will update as often as we update the data that goes into it. And we're working to put systems in place to make sure that those are updated as often as possible. And we also broke those out into 3 different categories that I think you'll see if you go to this link and pan down. There's a finance section and information on the visitor center, what we do through the visitor center, and then another dashboard of the marketing efforts. We're going to streamline those a little bit as we move forward based on what is pertinent and important for you guys to see. But right now, I think we just have everything on those pages so that they're there and available to you. And I'm happy to take the time to talk to anybody if you want to sit down and go through all the data. There is quite a bit of data there. I'm happy to explain how any and all of that works and how the dashboards work to anyone who would like to know about it. Next slide. This is a little spreadsheet that I've used to kind of track what the DMO program gets. This is directly from the reports that you guys send along with our check. So I put the total number in that you provide and then our share of that number and the dates of those checks or the quarters that they represent. And then I use the little calculation to figure out what the percentage increase or decrease has been from the previous year. So that's what the percentage number is that you see in between the numbers there. And then, of course, I total the fiscal year end so that you guys will see what we track and that you can see that it matches what you guys have sent us. And I'm sure if Lori's looked at these at all, she'll agree that those match. So this is really just a way for you guys to see the numbers in one nice little spreadsheet form. Next slide. Part of this, we're just at the end of last fiscal year, and one of the things that we're supposed to report to you is the plan for next fiscal year. So you will see in this is our budget for this fiscal year, which is on the left side. In the different categories, you'll see that I've kind of outlined and then it includes the admin expense. So the visitor center numbers are there. And then the second column, of course, is the actual numbers that we've spent so far this year. So you can see the progression as we go. So you'll start seeing this on every report that I give to you guys. Next slide. I want to take a moment to point out that we have created an Experience Cannon Beach app that we're using to show and represent all the different areas of Cannon Beach. that visitors or anybody wants to check out and go see. This is a way for you to carry around Cannon Beach in your hand with your cell phone. And we're using this to direct people to different areas of interest and things that they want to see or do. We're still growing this and expanding it out. And I hope that everybody's had an opportunity to download the app and see what it can actually do. We're excited about how it can help interact with our visitors and guide them to events or stores or activities. We're just adding more and more to this every month as we go. Next slide. I touched on this a little bit, and I had a meeting with Jeff actually about Datify. This is one of the areas of information, visitor information that we're gathering and looking into. And this is using geo fencing of our community and our different points of interest and attractions to get a good idea of the visitors that are going to those locations. As you can see, this information goes back to 2018. So this gives us a great way to look at what happens, what it was pre-COVID, how things happened during COVID. And I'm excited to see how things moved forward through this. This is, I've said a few times in my presentations, a fire hose of data, because it really is a lot. And they just updated their software to make it a little easier to track and pinpoint information. And we'll use this to help guide and direct our marketing efforts as we go forward. There's a lot of opportunity here, I think, to help our community really determine who is coming to Cannon Beach and how those visitors are spending their time here. Next slide. Of course, the visitor center is been our bread and butter for many years at the downtown, and we've been providing this work and partnership for decades. But I wanted to create this list so you guys can see all the different things that the visitor center does. And the biggest thing that I want to kind of throw out is that the visitor center isn't just visitors. Nancy comes in often to gather materials for the farmers market, and we have a lot of locals that come in to get the information that just comes out weekly or is available on certain timelines, or if they have family and friends come into town and they just want to gather everything so that their family and friends have the information too. We really strive at the visitor center to make sure that we have all the accurate information of anything and everything that's happening at Cannon Beach, so that we can share it not only with visitors, but our locals and anybody who wants to know about Cannon Beach. So if you haven't been in the visitor center, come check it out. The newest addition to the visitor center is we added a big screen TV that you can see inside, and we're running our YouTube videos that we've been creating for the past several years through our TAC program. And visitors are amazed at how wonderful it is. And it's really funny. People are asking, is that happening now? Is that live? And that just goes to show how good a quality those videos are and how wonderful that and appreciated the visitors like them. So we look forward to using those more and more as we go. Next slide. This was a marketing summary that I put together for the last presentation, and I wanted to put it back in there because it's important to see what we did during COVID, and then really what the plan is as we move out. The biggest thing we've been working on is we put out a request for proposal for marketing agencies to help us design a new campaign for Cannon Beach. The question is, how are we going to promote Cannon Beach now that we're coming out of COVID? And that's a really big question that the marketing committee will be working on. And we needed a professional company that can help us walk through the steps of how to create that and to help us create that. And they'll be doing quite a bit of the work. And we've narrowed it down to 2 companies, which will be interviewing one more time and making our decision later this week on which company we wish to work with. And then we'll begin the process of actually educating them on what we want them to do and really diving into how to create that campaign and what it should be. So this will be a really crucial time for the marketing committee that will really guide our marketing efforts for the next 2 and 3 years, because we really want a marketing campaign that will represent our community and our wants and needs of visitors. And it's just a big, important step for us to take at this time, because we really want to make sure we get it right. Next slide. Oh, I just mentioned that I added this at the last. The campaign is our biggest and most important aspect right now. And we'll be building, hopefully designing that over the next few months. But until we get that new campaign, we're sticking with the Love It Like a Local and keeping our information that we've been promoting pretty much the same. So that'll be the next iteration. And I can't wait to show you that once it's been developed. So with that, I that's the end of my presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Jim, I think it was very thorough. I appreciate coming in and giving us a bigger picture of what goes on and not just the number. I think for me, that's very helpful. So thank you.
I do have one question. I noticed on your transient lodging room tax, it decreased by 4.10% on the fourth quarter. Do you have any idea why there's been a decrease in visitors, and do you expect that to continue?
I was surprised by that number as well. During COVID, our community and really the entire coast was a booming area for people to escape to. And we've heard time and time again that our hoteliers have been having, a record month. This is amazing. It's January. We're full on a weekend, which almost never happens. When we got to summer, I think, we've kind of maxed out how many more people we could get into town on summer. That happens every summer, so that's nothing new. But I think just that's a little indicator that things will start to kind of turn back to a normal visitation pattern. I've talked to some of the hoteliers who've told me that their reservations for fall and winter are looking more like 2019. Certainly, those numbers will return to normal at some time, and it seems like that time might be coming now. I think this is something we should definitely keep an eye on, because if it takes a big dip, that would be a pretty big scare. None of us want to see that number fall too much. But I think on the flip side of that, our hoteliers would appreciate a nice break from the last 2 years of everyone coming all year long. I really think this is just an indicator that we'll be returning to our normal visitation pattern. Peak in the summer, starts to slow down as we go through fall. January, February is usually really quiet, and then we start to pick up again come spring break. It'll be interesting to see if that pattern returns. And I'm happy to show you guys kind of that pattern, which I can do with some of the visitor data. if you want to take a look at that.
You know, during the last recession, I remember people were really worried that we weren't going to get very many visitors because it was a recession. And they were very pleasantly surprised when people started coming in here in droves because they didn't have the money or the gas to go to places like Disneyland or Disney World or Europe or whatever, but Cannon Beach was relatively close and I won't say inexpensive, but it was less expensive than going on a big trip. Do you expect anything like that to be happening now that we are experiencing more inflation and possibly a recession?
It'll be interesting to watch that. I agree that there was the last recession, you know, you're right. People couldn't like fly to Europe and whatnot. I think Cannon Beach is very special in the fact that people will want to visit. Pretty much, you know, we're lucky in the aspect that we have a beautiful place to live. And we all hear it. But we also have a direct access to the valley with Highway 26, which also extends out to the gorge. And then you get to Idaho, Montana. Canada comes down via the Seattle Way. So we have two major metropolitan areas and the surrounding Northwest that really feeds to Cannon Beach via the highways. So anytime there's a recession and people start driving to their destinations rather than flying, I think we see more visitors in the drive traffic. We were able to identify that we actually do have a fly traffic area. That's something we learned through the visitor data that we've gathered. So I'm interested to explore what that is, but I don't foresee a huge drop, but I'm no economist and I'll take the ride with you as we go.
Okay. Jim, we're seeing the same thing. And what we realized is that we're comparing, like, did we drop from the previous year or from the previous 2 years? Yes, we did. But those were the highest years we've ever had. And so you're comparing, even the numbers that you have now are very good. It's just that you're comparing to just the highest, you know, and you can't continue to always have a highest. So we're not too worried about it. It's more of a normalization, we think.
I agree with that, Bruce. And, you know, I think that we're still doing better than we normally, like if COVID hadn't happened and our years had been normal years, I think this number would be an up number, would be my guess. But, you know, that's the COVID effect and we're all learning how to deal with that as we go. So the last 2 years have been boom years. So a 4% drop is not a huge drop, but it is a drop. And I think it's just something we need to keep an eye on. And the next few quarters, I think will give us a good indication.
Any other questions or comments for Jim? Jim, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the City Hall Police Station schedule. So that'll be Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Interim Mayor. Well, there's really two parts to this discussion. First is that with interest rates rising, then we need to be careful about our schedule because the Cannon Beach Elementary renovation and the City Hall Police Station, in terms of financing, we were looking at interest rates that are projected to increase in the short to midterm, and the budget for both projects are highly reliant on bond financing. For that reason, we're extremely focused on working on developing a project schedule for the City Hall Police Station project that will get us to our bond issue date as efficiently and effectively as possible. We are not saying in any way do we intend to sacrifice quality or process to get to that point. But a 0.5 point increase, by my numbers right, is a little bit less than $300,000 a year in debt service. And so if we can avoid one of those, get things through, that's, you know, a significant amount on the in the debt service payments for 30 years. So we want to talk a little bit more about the process that we'll go through in getting public input, but please don't read that or understand that statement that we're going to go ahead and rush this through. It's our intention to ask council to add the city. I'm sorry, this is a different one. All right, now, one thing that we're finding in talking to CETA is we're finding that the difference between the two being City Hall and Cannon Beach Elementary, there is no natural prompt, that's my word, to get people to talk and provide input about the City Hall Police Station project like there was with the Cannon Beach renovation. That project had things like the site, classrooms, the gym, tribal history, local history. Those exciting features are lacking in the City Hall Police Department project. Sorry. So anyway, I'd like to have Leslie Jones. She's our project architect from CETA. Because we were talking about, okay, what can we talk about? What would a project normally talk about if you didn't have all these things that are associated with Cannon Beach Elementary? So Leslie, you ready to take it over?
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hand, Leslie.
Great. Well, thank you, Bruce. Thank you for having me join you this evening. As you mentioned, as we start looking at the schedule and how to take these initial steps to get community and council input, we wanted to take the opportunity to talk it through with the council and make sure that our approach is suited for this project. That and taking into account lessons learned from the elementary school process. So our intent here is to schedule the first community outreach event. We were looking at a date of October 25th for that. And we would use that opportunity to get initial public input on many aspects of the project. So we will be asking how the facility should relate to the community as a whole, how the facility should relate and enhance the experience of Midtown more particularly, and also how and to what extent we have the opportunity here to use the site and what amenities that site can provide and what amenities to the community, not only the site, but the facility could enhance. Some of the ideas that we had talked about are potentially community spaces, either indoors or outdoors, community art. Again, I think that could be indoors and outdoors. So we really want to hear during this first community outreach event from members of the community to get even more ideas or thoughts or priorities. The other thing we would be talking about would be priorities for the project. So some things might include aesthetic appeal, and again, how the project fits in with the experience of Midtown, sustainable practices, and what elements of that the community would be most interested in seeing. We're also looking to talk about the priority of improving working conditions for the police department and how the facility will do that. Importantly, too, are the fiduciary responsibilities that we have to keep the project economical and within budget and to best use those tax dollars that we're spending. And then finally, talking about how the facility can serve the community in terms of emergency management. So those are some ideas we'd like to elicit responses to during that first COE event. We will be there similar to the elementary school with our CETA team and our subconsultant teams with surveys, and we'll have our listening ears on to get community feedback, and probably also a site map just as a tool to elicit conversation. We would follow up that first community outreach event with a second community outreach event. One of the things we were hoping to discuss this evening is if the council has preferences for how we schedule that second event in terms of time and day of the week. If it's preferred to do that on a weekend or a different time of the day. That for the first event, we are considering an evening, so October 25th in the evening on a work day. We would then follow up the second community outreach event with a third. During the third, we would be presenting information gathered during those first two community outreach events. So one of the things we learned at the elementary school was really the third outreach event, there was a drop in attendance. And so what we're proposing here and with your approval would be to have two information gathering events, and then a third one during which we present that information and give the public and council an opportunity to respond.
Mayor, if I can. Again, this is not the same as Cannon Beach Elementary, but most people have not seen, the inside of City Hall. And we are looking to allow people to walk through the building. So if they want to see what the offices look like, the conference room, this room, and we'll try to do some limited access to the police station, so that while people are moving around, that's when CETA can be talking to them, maybe commenting on what some of the issues are in the building. So it won't be everybody sitting here and being talked at, vice versa. There will be breaking off, and it's wherever they want to go. So we're hoping that seemed to be a real popular part where you could kind of isolate yourself with a CETA member and have the conversation that you wanted to have. The main thing, for you is what we're talking about to get the public input. Is that acceptable to you? And then also based on the time frame that we found we needed, like we were trying to do it every 2 weeks for Cannon Beach Elementary. We really needed 3. In order to get in the middle of that, we get a meeting with the tribe and some other things. And in 2 weeks, 1 week later, if it's a 2 week split, 1 week later, the agenda has to go out. So if that's acceptable, then I think we have what we need, and we'll be able to move forward. If anybody has any comments from the audience too.
As you put this out, I think I heard a question about the time of day. It seems to me if we're going to offer tours through the facility and have groups stationed throughout, then that almost dictates that we have it in the evening.
It probably would be better in the evening, but we can make it work. But if y'all think that you'll get enough input with the evening meetings, that would be the preference.
I don't know. I kind of like to see a weekend during the day kind of thing. I don't know how much how many people we'd get, but people who own second homes here might have an opportunity to be able to come through here and.
We can, as long as it's a weekend and the building is clear, that is the same as doing it at night, so that'd be fine.
I think it's a good idea.
Something like the second meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the second meeting, are we talking about 3 weeks from October 25th?
Leslie?
I think we were looking at 2 to 3 weeks. Yes. So potentially, I think that puts us either the weekend of the 12th or the weekend of the 19th of November.
Leslie, from your perspective, is 2 weeks enough time?
I didn't catch that question.
I was wondering, from your perspective, or from CETA's perspective, does 2 weeks between the outreach give you enough time? Or are you preferring a 3-week break?
I think for these first 2 meetings, 2 weeks would be sufficient. Again, these first 2 meetings are primarily information gathering. And we would expect much of the same format for the first 2. I think for the third one, 3 weeks may be more appropriate to give us a chance to really digest the information we gather and compile it and be ready to present it.
Well, that would make our going 2 weeks would put us into the second week of November.
And
And if we want to make it on a weekend, then it's, it's sort of like 2.5 weeks. Maybe that's a good way to do it.
yeah, and we'll get to you with proposed dates once we know CETA's preference on the timeframe and then also your schedules. So we'll look at those and then we'll set the times.
Is the October 25th meeting date hard and fast for the time being?
I have invited many people to that date and asked them to hold the date for us just to make sure it's available for the team. So we would be looking to distribute the flyer announcement as soon as tomorrow if that date is acceptable.
It certainly is with me. I guess my follow-up question then, Bruce, would be, what will we do to try and enhance the attendance for the meeting?
We have a flyer that they put together. We'll put it in the bulletin. We'll get it advertised. We'll ask people to do it on Facebook and things. So that's what we would do.
Okay.
And then as far as when you started to say, what would we do? I thought, wait a second, we didn't have a meeting. I think that on the 25th, we should go ahead and have it be, CETA and the public, rather than make a public meeting and all the requirements associated with that. Y'all are welcome to come. I'm not trying to discourage that, but just to go ahead and get people right into the design as opposed to feeling like at a meeting.
Or like what we did with the grade school.
Exactly, yeah.
And I thought that worked really well.
Yeah.
And I'm available also on the 25th.
I'm more than fine with that.
Okay. So it looks like we're on certainly for October 25th for the first outreach.
Great.
And for council's information, we're trying to schedule sometime, probably the October workshop would be okay. We want to talk about the potential implications to the project between interest rates being higher, inflation having gone crazy since the last time we talked. So we want to talk about, how we'll deal with some of those things, but we're not quite ready now.
Back up just a second about what you said about the October.
You mean the
November. And November.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the October work session.
Whatever.
What day is that? Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what.
No, you're correct.
There should be some real changes between now and then
Mhm.
in the interest rates.
Yeah.
Can you promise they'll go down?
I will not.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any more questions or you need any more clarification on the scheduling of the meeting?
No, if y'all are good with that approach,
I think we have a consensus.
Cannon Beach Elementary works so good, we're trying to emulate it in any way that we can.
And I guess my only suggestion is in November, if we could make it the 12th and instead of the 19th, it's getting really close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You good with the 12th, Leslie?
The
November?
12th is what I was thinking when I looked at my calendar as well, as a day that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, great.
Works for me. Anything else? Any questions you have of the council?
Do you want to talk about the time for the 12th?
Six?
Saturday, we did it before, like around 10 or 11. Seems
So the twelfth is a weekend. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a-
Yeah.
It's a
It
Saturday.
was like mid-morning. That's okay with everybody.
10 o'clock.
It's fine with me.
Okay. 10
Sounds
o'clock.
good to me.
Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the discussion of the council retreat. We've had some preliminary discussion about how we would do that, and I think I heard two separate meetings, one with the new candidates, I guess it'd be candidates at that point. The other is then a follow on just for the council. So anybody had, and then I've always felt that we needed a more defined agenda for that retreat. I think a couple have been pretty open-ended. Everybody submits their ideas. What would you like to have covered? And it grew from that. But I think that's still a good way to start, as long as we can keep it focused on, it seems to me that the current projects, we have a plate full of projects, and I'm not just talking about the two construction projects, but all the infrastructure, the water, the grants, then of course there's the longer term issues of housing and so forth. So I guess we still need to have what council would like to see in a planning retreat. But so I think we need to submit still our ideas, but then be able to pare that down to a manageable number of issues that we think can actually be accomplished.
Well, you're talking about the retreat for the candidate with the newly elected.
Right.
Yeah, we probably need to narrow it to some extent because it's a kind of a handoff, but so talking about our projects is probably that's probably going to limit the agenda right there. I mean, a long time.
Comment?
Yeah, and we really are looking, as you said, as two different meetings. And we had a discussion about this the other day when we talked about the agenda with the candidates. And the idea that the first meeting would be a handoff. It's you can talk about what it's like to be a counselor. You can talk about the projects, whatever you think you would like to go ahead and pass on, to the next generation. And then from there, we were thinking probably 2 or 3 months before we did the one with the new council, because we want them to have a series of meetings, get an idea, get a feel for it, learn what a bunch of the issues are, and then let them go ahead and do a planning meeting. And if we do it in February or March, that's that's in time for them to give budget, guidance.
But I still think on the handoff has got to be more than just what's it like to be a counselor.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, these are the things that have been keeping us awake at night.
Yeah.
These things we would like to see continued. And of course, Sam and I have nothing to say after that.
and actually something, what you see coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not sleeping at night is what it's like to be a counselor.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any, well, maybe looking at with Jennifer and Bruce on potential schedule for this first retreat meeting?
You guys want to stick with December? Or do you want to try to do it in November?
The one is fine,
I don't
from
know.
a effectiveness standpoint, as long as they don't get too late in November. Jen, how bad is November looking right now after the election? Do we just have the one workshop?
Yes, so we're gonna have, you're gonna have your regular meeting, your work session, potentially an executive session, and probably at least one Cannon Beach Elementary meeting, but we will be working on that schedule on Friday.
COE for City Hall now.
And then your November 12th COE.
Are we having a joint audit in that month?
You know what, they haven't had me schedule one yet.
Okay.
She'd been having a schedule like a month in advance, but we'll talk with her tomorrow and see what.
Okay.
plans were. So in December, we have the regular meeting, the work session. CETA. For City Hall, or for, Cannon Beach Elementary. I mean, your months are full, no matter which way. I mean, December right now looks a little bit lighter, but it also.
Because it's a month away.
Yeah.
That's because it's only October.
In the last couple of years, I think we've been doing it daytime around the 14th, 15th. It seemed like it was the third week of the month.
Well, that would be my preference.
And the 15th, I have a conflict. In November, we're talking about, right?
I'm talking about, my preference would be to have the meeting in December.
Early
Oh,
December.
okay, cool. Yeah. Okay,
Even that first week of December. We have our regular meeting on the 6th, and I don't think I saw or heard anything later in that week. Next week, I will probably be getting into the school and City Hall final issues, because they'll start being pressure to get moving on those.
So are you saying you want to do it the first week of the 5th?
Yeah,
December?
if we could do it on the week of the 5th, maybe Jennifer could send an email out with some dates.
Yeah, that week is for the daytime is really available. Tuesday at 2 p.m. is a short-term rental task force meeting, but pretty much the council chambers are open most of the time. There's a couple of meetings at 9 a.m. staff meetings, but usually we would do, I think, 10.
How about Wednesday, the 7th? That work for people?
yeah.
And that's for the code audit?
No, it's for the
For the retreat?
Retreat, okay.
Tuesday.
Because we'll be talking about future date.
candidates. For you, Brandon?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I didn't ask Sam, but
He's not on.
he's not on.
Nope.
Well, let's shoot for that then. We say Wednesday, the 7th.
So last year we started at 11 a.m. We scheduled 11 to 4 last year.
And if you could remind me, did we do 2 days or were we able to get it done in
We
1 day?
did do it 2 days before.
Did 2 days, yeah, I think we did.
Let's shoot for 1.
Should we block the other one out if we need it?
I think that's a good idea. Just start 1 o'clock on the 7th, but block out some time on the 8th, the morning of the 8th, in case we need to run over.
And you
Well,
said,
saying we started at 11.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, what did I say?
One.
Said 1.
okay. 11 to 4 and then morning
So okay, so I'm confused.
of the,
Wednesday at 11?
Wednesday,
Time out.
11.
Okay.
And if we start to get close to being finished, we stay.
Okay.
We feel like we have to start the next day. I just soon start, say, at 10 o'clock in that morning, but I'll make it 11 if that works for people. Just start at 11 the next day and wrap it up.
Okay. I will put that on the calendar. And
And-
email Sam and make sure that works,
Where are we gonna have it?
here in the council chamber.
Here? Okay,
But that way we can have the Zoom option,
okay.
because it's a public meeting.
And everything's open, so, okay.
Do we need any other direction from?
Anything else?
If you have ideas, like for example, projects, you do a presentation on that, but also getting your perspective on the projects, I think is important to pass on, because we can do that, anytime once the board is seated. Anything else that you think? We'll create an agenda around your suggestions.
I think in the past, everybody sent their suggestions to Sam.
Mhm.
Since he's not here to reject that idea.
Sam, it is.
Send your ideas to Sam. Maybe send it to Jennifer, and Jennifer could accumulate them and provide them to Sam and the rest of us. And then we'll have to pare that down, I'm sure.
Well, it makes sense because this is a meeting we've never done before, that maybe the council delegates to Sam and to Mike to develop the plan or whatever based on everybody's, or at least a proposal based on everybody's input.
I'd also like to see the incoming counselors asked and mayor asked if what they want to know.
Sure.
Well,
Mhm.
they can submit ideas as well.
Yes.
Okay, I'll shoot out an email to them.
Okay, then Sam and I can get together and
I'll work with that.
make one list of ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other discussion item? Then I will, not hearing any, close the work session.
We still,
What's that?
we have the one site.
Recycling depot.
Where did I was looking at the other list. Okay. Bruce will take this one.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mike. Recently, we had to analyze some of the practices that were going on at the recycling center. They've been going on for a very long time. One was dealing with an individual that would sometimes operate within the fence, sometimes outside of the fence. It essentially was collecting aluminum cans and then taking them out and redeeming them. I was contacted by a couple of folks, and they told me that they thought they had a big concern about that, and that potentially it might be the fact that by taking the cans, they would actually be stealing equivalent of money from the city. And they were very earnest, and that we think that that's a big deal. And so we said that we would go ahead and take a look at it, and it took a little time. But the first thing that kind of changes it all is that the city receives no money for the cans. As a matter of fact, what happens, our agreement with Recology is they come and they pick things up, and then we pay for the tonnage for what they take. They don't take the cans, our cans separated from anybody else's, and then say, well, we'll go ahead and put these in, and then we'll give a credit back to the city. The credit comes in a different form, and I'm not sure if it was intended to be this, but the credit there is a credit of some kind, and that's that they give us funds back to help run recycling center. And that is just a fee that's negotiated and paid from Recology to the city. And so that's just how that works. And it's not tied to actually doing the recycling itself. So there is a little bit of a concern about our recycling efforts, in that we're not all that good of recycling. We might be earnest and try to keep things separate and all that, but when Recology picks up something, And there is other materials from the waste stream mixed with either the cans or the glass or anything else. Frequently, that just goes straight to the landfill. So not everything we recycle, depends on how well we recycle and how clean the material is, as far as whether it goes to the recycling part or the dump. But there is a state law that says, and I misstated this in this note. There's a state law that says no one can enter a recycling facility to remove recycling materials for resale, ... which I missed, and that is without the owner's permission. And we did have a discussion. I had a discussion with Jason on that. And the problem is we say, okay, well, this individual can go ahead and do that. Well, so can everybody else in the world, because, why are we doing it for this person as opposed to anybody else? And so we saw that as a potential, almost an advertisement that you can go ahead and come in here. And then that just is up to the city staff to manage. So there was another concern, and the individual was going in, it was helpful. He would clean up around the yard waste things, because I hardly ever get it all in there. I try. But he would sweep and use the broom and all that stuff to go ahead and put stuff in. But we had a situation that we had a person that was not a volunteer, not an employee, and working in one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. And so we said, well, that's probably not a good idea to continue. And so having them in there, having anybody in there does not make sense without the right equipment and stuff like that. So that led us to say, all right, I'm sorry, we're on the point. Having him there, and I think there's a couple of other people with to show up also. We don't know if they're the ones that, by their presence, we don't have a bunch of dumpster divers from other locations coming in to try to take cans out and glass and all that kind of stuff. We have had that in the past. We've not had it in a very long time. It's not been a problem. So we don't know, but it's possible that might have had something to do with that, our good record. So it was hard to make a change because we didn't see there was a real downside on us losing money. And there was the potential of an upside, and we got a little bit of help from the individual, and maybe kind of keeping some other folks out. So to try to come up with a resolution to this, we talked to the individual and we said, you just have to collect on this side of the fence. So if you park outside and people give you stuff, that's fine. You can't solicit if somebody's coming in. You can't say, hey, can I take your cans? You can't do that. On top of that, we would have no trouble with people that would come in and give him the cans anyway. And so as long as he's on the other side of the fence, because we did not ask him to leave. We just said, you can't be inside here anymore, but you can still do what you've been doing. And then the one that I was not aware of is the number of restaurants that were coming there and giving him their cans. And so we encouraged him to work something out where they either bring it right there to where, just outside the gate, or he can even go and pick it up behind the building or something like that on certain days. So we tried not to have any kind of a financial impact on him. We think he's safer working on the other side, and he's still there. And we're more in compliance than what we have been in the past. So I think there are a lot of people thought that it was somehow directed at him, and it wasn't. But we had to investigate the part about the money flow. So that's what happened.
There's been a lot of discussion on this, as Deanna alluded to on Facebook. And I think that what the concern is that he isn't always there. He's there quite often, but he's not living there, obviously. So people are concerned that when they come to drop their cans off to him, cans and bottles off to him, that if he's not there, then they don't know where to put the cans and the bottles. And some people have suggested that maybe a bin could be put out in front of the fence, so that a bin just for the returnables only. so that they would have a place to deposit those so that Lance could come and get them.
That's possible, but we really can't say that no one else can come and get them.
Right. You know,
And
you can't borrow doing that.
yeah, and it's going to seem probably cold-hearted, but I think that he should be able to go ahead and collect anytime that he's there. But I don't know if we have to change our rules or our processes to make sure he gets 100% of the cans.
Well, I'm not, I don't think people are suggesting that he gets 100% of the cans. I'm sure there's a lot of people would like to see that. But to have some place that they could put the bottles and cans that he could collect when he is there, when he comes there. Is there someplace, you mentioned something about behind the building?
No, but that would be at the restaurants.
Okay,
It's the
behind the
restaurant,
restaurant
behind
buildings,
there.
okay. So is there some way of somehow getting a location for him that people could put their bottles and cans for him to pick up?
It cannot be only for him.
Well,
Anybody else that comes in the truck can go ahead and take it just as much as him.
There's certainly nothing stopping any individual from making an arrangement.
right,
Yeah,
And I would encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah.
Versus trying to create a whole separate way to recycle.
I'm just trying to answer some people's questions.
I agree. I think it's very unfortunate that this has come to this.
I do too.
that People were operating under some very false assumptions about the revenue stream.
It may be good. It came to our attention anyway, from a liability standpoint. A forklift in there, big dumpsters, trucks, people coming in, turning around. Just from that standpoint alone, I think probably making the right decision. Suggestion of another location, maybe like opening up another recycle center. I have problems with that.
Well, just putting a bin out at the fence for anybody to be able to come and collect them if they, is that a possibility? Is that a thing that we could think about?
Bruce, can I add something to that?
yes.
Yeah,
Although that's a really reasonable idea for us to consider. Let me give you a challenge that comes with that. Not everybody would just put recyclables in that. And so then Lance would either have to go through there and harvest out, and then the staff has to figure out what to do with the rest of the trash that's in there. As you guys might know, the reason we have that staffed is because Andrew manages what's in those bins, and people often put styrofoam, barbecues, things that have no business being in there. So adding another bin outside just adds another layer of staff having to manage it. The intention's great for Lance. But I think when Lance came to City Hall and talked to me, it sounds like he's worked out with people that are kind of his regulars
okay,
of how he's going to be able to get those cans when he's not at the recycle and they've offered them to him. He's got another way of being able to get them.
okay, so
So if people come and he's not there, they should just deposit it their normal way or hold it aside and give it to him outside of that arena. I think that is what Lance has been able to work out.
I didn't hear the last part, or what?
Or they give it to him outside of the recycle location. They either deposit their stuff as they would normally if he's not there, or hold it aside for him and he goes to their location and picks it up outside our recycling center.
Okay, so when you say hold it aside for him, what hold?
At their home or their restaurant.
Okay, all right.
We don't put it in the bin.
So in other words, people who have been complaining about this on Facebook, if I suggested to them that they make arrangements with Lance to pick up elsewhere, that's pretty much all we can do about that.
Well, it keeps it clean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's set, yeah.
It would become an attractive nuisance.
Yeah.
You get people that you don't want to come there and fight.
Right,
for
right.
I just think our Facebook just haven't been filled in on the things that have really been worked on. And I think from Lance, what he's told us is he feels there's been a happy medium
Okay.
worked out. He had no intentions of causing a hardship for the city. He expressed that he used his intentions that. But it still supports what he needs in his lifestyle and his regulars that come in and give to him.
Okay.
I think we found that place and everybody else just needs to be aware of that.
Okay. All right.
He was very apologetic. He did not want to cause a problem.
No, he's,
And I
Right.
know he's a good guy.
Yes.
So, think that we might have found it.
all right. I will deliver the message.
And have,
Help to know that it came from Lance,
What?
because I've seen the conversations. It might help to know that this is what Lance would like. It's not you, it's not the city. Liability is a problem, like
Yeah.
I said, this is what Lance would like. Lance will be there from 10 to 12, and then his regulars will go. Because people obviously are heartbroken, they want to help him.
Right.
That's what we all want to do.
Yeah.
So that would be helpful.
It's just that the city has been taking so much grief over this that I just wanted to try to explain what's going on. So, yeah.
and Bruce, you mentioned signage, but has the signage been clarified as to the fact that it's the ordinance and city ordinance? So somebody going up there, they can see and understand what's going on.
I believe so. And I have a question for Ashley. The language, the state language is clear. You know, you can't go in and take stuff out of here. But Jason, when you and I were talking, you said that there was home rule that we could override that particular ordinance or the statute by saying we'll give him permission to go in. So we only put it as far as you can't come in because we don't intend to give permission for that use.
Anybody.
So it's clear when you get there, you're not supposed to, you can't go in there to grab stuff. So we didn't continue with the rest of it. Was that right? Or no?
So Chief, what you're saying is the state law is permissive. It says that a property owner may provide permission to somebody to go into the recycling center.
I'll read it for you. 459.080 without permission of the owner or generator of recycling material, take recyclable material set out to be collected by a person authorized by a city or county to provide collection service for that recyclable material. So they're saying if you don't have permission to go in there, same as a trash can or a recycling bin on your driveway.
Mhm.
You haven't given somebody permission to take stuff out of it, you can't.
Okay, and we're the owner of the property?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, we can comply with this law and issue our own legislation about when somebody has permission to go onto the property. So we could pass an ordinance.
And actually, if I could add to that, and our agreement with Recology's contract doesn't stipulate that we cannot do that. And they did verify that the contract does not say that.
Okay, so the contract would allow us to do that as well.
But it would have to be it'd have to be very general. It can't limit it to one person. I'm sorry, we may be able to defer to Ashley on that. But it seems difficult to us to explain why that person can go in, but you can't.
Yeah, we would need to have generally applicable rules about when somebody can go on and for what purposes and so forth. It can't just be for one person
And I'm also,
if we're going to legislate it.
and I like from a safety standpoint that we've said you really can't go in there. I think that was wish we would have thought of it earlier. But I've heard some horror stories. I guess back in the day, there was a guy who used to come and take stuff out of the glass, but he was barefoot. You know, so it's at that point, what can you say? So we just want to say no, let Andrew run it and do that.
Yeah, now that I've been asked to give opinion, I actually agree wholeheartedly with what Councillor Benefield said, is that I do think that I'm glad that this situation is being addressed because it did raise some liability concerns about our knowledge of this person at the facility and, you know, whether that person is properly equipped and trained to be doing what he apparently was doing. So I definitely think that I'm glad that we're addressing that.
He's very glad to comply.
So just for clarification, is the council or actually Bruce, are you asking for any changes to the sign that has been posted up there that Chief asked us to post?
No, no changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, then now I will close the work session and begin the special meeting. I think my.
Yes, sir. Seems like it was a very long time ago when we came to you, or when you came to us and said we want to do the Beach Elementary project. Recommendation was made that we construct it using the CMGC method. You approved that. We came back with the rules and the draft contract, and those were all approved. And then we had a committee, a selection committee, which was Trevor Mount, Les Sinclair from the Planning Commission, Doug Craner from Public Works Committee, Jeff Adams, Rusty Barrett, and myself went in and reviewed the proposals. We received proposals from two companies in this case. One was Bremick Construction and the other was O'Brien Construction. And the process was such that they both turned in a proposal. And then it was reviewed by the folks that I mentioned on the committee. And then after we all had a chance to look at it, we came in and talked about our reactions to the proposals. And it was very good that having that many minds on it, because we all learned something. Somebody caught something that somebody else didn't catch. So I think that we did a really good review. The result was a good review on behalf of the city. And the next step is you can decide to interview or not. And we decided to interview both, and we did. And in going through the interviews, we came to unanimous decision that we wanted to start negotiating with Bremick Construction. And we have Brent Perry here, who is the founder and president of Bremick Construction, and I thank him for coming tonight. And he said that us going an hour and a half before his item came up was nothing. Was it Troutdale took 4 hours? Okay, see, we're winning. So anyway, we went ahead and did that, and we've gone through the negotiation. And you have a copy of the contract, in your packet, and you've had a chance to review it. We developed that contract with David Doofman from Barry Elsner, and he helped us with all the contracts. And so that's all, we've gone through all of that. And so the scope of the work will be done in 2 phases. The first one is called pre-construction, and that's the thing we're all excited about, using CMGC. And that during that time, it's not a partnership. They have no contract with each other, but the 2 entities that are building this for us, being the architectural firm and the CMGC, they're working together. There's no competition. There's no conflict there. And what happens is the CMGC is able to supplement the architect's team's information with, real world. You wouldn't be able to buy that for 2 years here. And knows that generators are a year out at least, those kind of things. So when they're talking about something, it'll say, okay, that's got to be on the order it tomorrow list. And then there would be discussions about maybe wall systems or roofing systems. And he'll say, I really like that one, but it's going to take too long to get the materials. So if you do this one, we can move the project along more quickly. So that's the kind of relationship that we're looking for between the 2. But then at some point when we hit, it's going to be sometime probably between schematic and design development. Someplace in there, we will get a GMP, or a guaranteed maximum price. Now, it's a guaranteed maximum price with an asterisk. Yeah, and there's a term of art in the contract, and it's called the cost of the work. And so there's certain things go into the cost of the work, and other things are specifically excluded. If they're in the cost of the work, we have to pay it. If it's not, if it's excluded, we don't have to pay that expense. So having the architectural contract, we used an AIA document for both, and the documents were put together Still favoring the AI, the architect side probably, but we put those together, and then there will be a GMP, and it'll be based on the work as of that day. If we do a change order, a change in scope, there will be a modified GMP. But the idea is that if there are no changes, in the GMP includes contingencies, at least one for the owner and one for the project. And that's that if something costs more than, when we started out, we want to be able to go ahead and pay that, but it's not going to make us go over budget because those funds are part of the budget. If there's any money left over, the way this is written, if there's any money left over in the project contingency, it belongs to us. So, but the GMP will be good. And then shortly after that, we'll probably be finishing up the bid documents. And the CMGC will be talking to the architect about, well, put that task, in the mechanical, and put this task, in civil, versus something else. So all of those things will be sorted out to the best ability for the CMGC to build. And they have an incentive to not increase the price because they've already put their guaranteed maximum price in. And so then the contractor will go out, and the CMGC will go out, and then they start acting like a contractor, and that they will still be on site and they'll still work with the architect, that sort of thing. But now they're focused on building it. And so that's what they'll be working on throughout the rest of the project. And that's how the project will get built. And that's how this contract is written. And we named 6 individuals that were involved with the selection. And Bremick was named at the top of everybody's list. It was unanimous. So any questions?
So let me see if I have this right. The GMP will include the project contingency and the owner contingency?
I believe that that's the case.
It's not in addition to,
There's
it will
both.
include,
Both will be included.
but both of them will be included. Okay. Within the whole GMP. Okay.
Does everybody understand this contract clearly?
Sure.
Yeah.
We're done.
Better watch him, Bruce. He understands it.
They all commented on that when we were having the phone call. Like we're all going like this, and then Brent just knew what it was.
I have confidence in Barry Elsner having put this together and the previous contracts that we've seen. I feel like they have done a good job in representing our interests. And I guess open a discussion, but we will need a couple of motions to be made.
That's my next question. So this is the last time where you have the suggested motions, and the first one being that we approve the CMGC firm determined to be the most qualified. Do you want to use that verbiage, or are you wanting to use company Bremick?
I'll defer to Ashley on that.
Okay.
So are we talking about the alternative motions, or do we do both? The first motion approved the firm determined to be most qualified by the selection committee for the Canon Beach Elementary School project. So yes, I think we need to do both. So the council is required to appoint the firm or to ratify the decision. So yes. And then the second one is to approve the contract.
Okay.
So
All right.
those would be required.
Thank you very much.
The contract or the Bremick?
So the first one is for the firm I moved to approve for most qualified. So either one, they're the firm that had been determined most qualified. So you can use Bremick, or you could just refer to them as the firm most qualified.
I'm sorry. It's just that this happened the last time, and it's just very confusing to me about why we would use language stating somebody that isn't being.
Okay, so I would say if we want to change this, I move to approve the CMGC firm determined to be the most qualified by the selection committee. And then you can say, in this case, Bremick Construction
Right.
for the Canon Beach Elementary School. So, does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Are we at that point?
Sounds like Brendan's ready to make a motion.
And if I can throw one thing in, when we're working as a group to try to set this up, one of the things you look at, you look at price and these other things, you're gonna be living with these people for like 2 years. And every one of us said, we'd like to work with them. And so that, we think that that's a really positive. Brent's been very helpful, the team that he put together, we're all excited to work with. And so we think this is a good, positive start to that process.
Well, and I loved looking at the projects and got a kick out of Jay Raskin being on the Barbie Maritime Center project. I thought, aha, we know that guy.
Great guy.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was nice to go through there and see all your accomplishments. It's impressive.
I think their projects are, they show that they are the firm. They do the work, their renovation, rejuvenation of the school. They have that direct experience, and it feels like they also have the culture, the understanding, the sensitivity of these kind of projects. So again, very pleased with the selection.
Yeah, I also like the sustainability aspect that in the description of your company and how you used some materials that you salvaged from one project in another project. I was very impressed with that. I'm hoping that you can continue to do that with the school.
We would certainly look to do that.
Yeah.
Something we enjoy doing.
Brendan?
Right, I move to approve the CMGC firm determined to be the most qualified by the selection committee, being Bremick Construction for the Canon Beach Elementary School rejuvenation project.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Take the vote.
Counselor Risley,
yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes,
Council President Bennett.
Yes. And then we need another motion to approve the contract at CMGC.
I move to approve the contract between the city and Bremick Construction for the Canon Beach Elementary School rejuvenation project.
second,
Been moved and seconded. Take a vote.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
yes.
Council President Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Risley.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Forward to it.
Anything else? Would you like me to? I'm happy.
Normally,
You're way under the travel 4 hours.
we're gonna close up in about a half hour, so you'll have to sit in the dark.
All right, well.
But thanks.
I'll go ahead and take off.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
The next item is the manager evaluation process form. Ask Ashley to take this.
So Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. So we talked about this at the good of the order last time, last week at the regular city council meeting. Pursuant to Bruce's contract, the city reviews his performance annually on his anniversary date, which is, I believe, around December 10th.
December 1st.
December 1st of each year. We have been delayed because, the city has been considering a lot of things in the last couple of years, and this process has been delayed each year. However, with the potential turnover with the city council, those who have actually overseen Bruce for the last year should be the ones that evaluate him. So I brought to you tonight the start of the process. So what I need from the council tonight is to review and approve the proposed evaluation form and criteria for the 2022 evaluation. And then to adopt that by motion, and then to set dates and procedure for the rest of the evaluation. I think this is either my 4th or 5th evaluation with the city council, and in an effort to improve each time. I feel like when we have gone through the evaluation in the past, some of the criteria is duplicative and covers areas that the council doesn't have direct knowledge about. So I took the liberty of changing the format of the criteria slightly. Before it was in paragraph form, I found that also hard to follow. So the change I made is just to put it in a list form. And then I went through and I have suggested removing some of the criteria. I talked about it with Bruce. Bruce was comfortable with removing these criteria. He also found that they were either not appropriate or redundant. But of course, it is the council's decision about the criteria you are going to use to evaluate Bruce. So, so it will be up for you to just have a final decision on the criteria. So I think I want to start with that and then get into dates. So any questions or comments about my proposed edits? Yes.
The only thing that I have is in item 2 and B, I still feel that employee retention is an important thing to keep your eye on. And even though it's probably not something we're directly involved with, we are involved. And so I think that if you could keep what is employee retention like?
Okay. Did I delete that one?
Yes, you did.
So I see B is how much are employees improving their work skills and what is, oh, okay, I got
See,
it.
we wouldn't know that part
But what is
necessarily.
employee retention like? I think that makes sense to bring that back in.
And if I can make a comment, I think F is another good one, which is because, I mean, if somebody leaves, it's who did you bring in? So F deals with how well have recruitments been conducted and have good employees been selected and hired.
Yeah, I think that's
I think that's an too, because I've been impressed with the last couple of people that
Yeah.
hired, and it's nice to notice that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments on my suggested edits?
I had a general comment. We use the form process and form and criteria. And yet it seems like there's not a consistent use of those. I saw process pretty clear, but we seem to interchange form and criteria. And I'm not saying, we understand what it's saying, but it some places, to me, the form is the outline, the way it's set up. The criteria is the specific words in that form. So
Okay.
and I kept going through, I kept that way, we're looking at form or we're looking at criteria.
I guess from my perspective, form is the process. So what does the process look like? And then criteria is the questions, but I see what you mean, because I use evaluation process and evaluation form.
Yeah, so just clarification.
Okay. And then just to bring your attention to it on council relations, which is 7, I suggested taking out how effective the city manager communication in support of city council's policy development, problem solving, and instead, how effectively does city manager communicate with councilors? How effectively does the city manager support the council's policy development and problem solving? So
Yeah.
with that, okay. So when we go to vote, it would be on the amended criteria as amended tonight. So if we start the process tonight, using these new criteria, I thought it would be reasonable to ask Bruce to provide his self-evaluation by October 1st. So that's essentially 10 days from now. And then the council would have that that self-evaluation, and we would schedule a time to meet in an executive session between November 24th and November 4th and do our evaluation and come to a consensus on all those criteria. One of the changes we've made in the past is to not try to put that meeting with any other meeting because sometimes it can last a long time. So a freestanding executive session. And then a second executive session between the council and the city manager I think this one could either be a freestanding executive session or in combination with another meeting. It can be long, but it's typically not the full 2 hours that sometimes the other one takes. And that would set us up to have for the council on your regular meeting in December for the council to adopt the evaluation and consider a merit increase for 2022.
I think our schedule works. It'll be the first time we've ever done it
On time?
on time. Yep.
If I can just make a comment with the criteria, because I think all these things are important. But as I'm looking at the new formatting, some of the things, if you're expecting an answer for 8A, 8B going down, does the city, because a lot of these are yes, no questions. So does the city manager display integrity, honesty, and ethical behavior? I'd like to think it's yes, but I don't know if you're looking for more. And I think that what I would like to do is do a narrative that covers as many of these as I can, because sometimes this particular situation or this question deals with 2 of these. And then I can put it in, but to try to do it like they call it. It was multiple choice and there was something else, but it's been so long since I was in school, I don't remember. It would not be a pleasant read. So if that's okay with you all.
Well, Bruce, I appreciated your self-evaluation last year. If I could make a suggestion,
Sure.
if you could reference one of the questions, if you could, it would be helpful to us in your narrative.
Okay, let me see what I can do with that.
And so like in parenthetic
Yeah,
reference.
yeah. But what I'm saying, I done. Let me see what I can do with that, Brandon. That might be
That's
answering,
all I'm asking.
but I might be doing something from 7 and 12.
I believe
But
we
can you
feel the
say
same way
7
when we're
and 12?
performing.
Yeah. Okay, sure,
That a lot of these have some sort of overlap.
sure. No, I'm good. Thanks.
And I didn't get a chance, Ashley, reflection number 9, where you have struck all of them. Is that because you felt that number 7 pretty much duplicated all of the questions for number 9?
I feel like they're all other places in the evaluation. So what is the status of the city manager's relationship with city council? Yes, I think that's covered by number 7. With citizens and community groups, well, we have, leadership that talks about interaction with community groups. We have personal and professional. So when I went through them, I found that each one of those was covered in another section. So with city employees, that's covered in, human resource management. So that's why I went ahead and struck all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Where is the press?
So I put that, let's see.
Yes, where is the press?
Probably listening, but anyway.
I think I was thinking that it goes with communication. How well does the city manager communicate orally in the written form? How responsive is the city manager to complaints and inquiries? I'm not sure that it's directly anywhere else. And so if we want to add it back in, I'm sure that we can.
I think it's important because there've been a lot of opportunities for that.
But if we add it into communication,
Okay.
That'd be a good spot.
Mhm.
I really appreciate you getting the redundancy out. Sometimes we're writing the same answer over and over. Or especially those where you have no knowledge of the inner workings of the city staff. So, good changes.
all right. So with that, let's talk about schedule. So then we need to find a date between October 24th and November 4th. That works for the council chamber, the council and me. So I will start October 26th, 27th and 26th and 27th would work for me.
The 27th is planning commission, so that's out.
Okay, how about the 26th?
That is good.
That should work for me.
I'm fine with that.
26th is good.
Okay, would 5 PM work with everybody or 5:15?
Yeah, that's fine.
5 is our,
5.
we're considering it an executive session, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's standard time.
Okay, perfect.
5 PM.
5 PM. Okay, and then it does take me a while sometimes to get everything organized. So starting November 14th to December 2nd. November 16th works for me.
Robin, what day did you say? you
Yeah, that's
Couldn't,
fine with me.
there was a day in November?
The 15th,
Oh.
I can't,
Great.
but the 16th, yes.
And that would be a freestanding executive session.
Yeah.
Is that what we want to do?
Fine, so
Mhm.
Yeah, can we do that early? Because I have a feeling I'm gonna have tech week in there somewhere.
I would be fine with like a 4 PM start. Is that what you mean?
That should be fine, I think.
If that works for you, Bruce, you're in that one,
What's it?
November 16th.
Have you got that one, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm looking, it looks like both rooms are booked until 5, but I think it was a preemptive booking. So I don't think both locations are really gonna be needed.
One of them is a city hall check-in with CETA.
No, I'm talking about interviews. So yeah, we can do, yeah, because if Karen has the council chambers, I can do the conference room because she'd be done by 4 of the conference room. So if you wanted, how early were you thinking?
I think we talked about 4 PM.
Or, okay, yeah, that would work.
All right, then I will just need a motion. Sorry, I didn't put it down here. I move to approve the amended city manager evaluation form and criteria for 2022. A so moved would work.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We need a vote.
Okay, Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Council Risley,
Yes.
Council Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council McCartney.
Yes.
I have one comment, actually. It says that the mayor or his designee will provide these forms to the council. I think you're the designee.
I'm the designee, or I have been in the past. Yeah.
All right. That completes the action items. Do we have anything for good of the order?
Coffee with the counselors on Monday at 10 AM.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, already.
Yes, coffee with the counselors, 10 AM here or on Zoom.
Anything else? Then we're adjourned.
All right, thanks.
Good.
Thanks, everybody.